Hi everyone. Welcome to this month's chat for Otherworldly Fundraising. This month we'll be talking with Trevor and Nikki Blake. For those that don't know, Otherworldly Fundraising is an organization in which we help people we help fundraise money for every year. This year, our fundraiser is for Option Save Lives. The big fundraiser will be in September, and every month we have a monthly show just to keep our name out there.
Hey y'all, how's it going? I'm really looking forward to tonight. Talking to Nikki will be really good. She's been a friend of mine for years, and if you like Scooby-Doo, this is for you. So, hey Nikki.
Hey,
Hey, how's it going?
it's going. How are you?
I'm doing well, and better for seeing you.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm excited to do this, especially with you, because like you said, we've been friends for a long time, so this is good.
yeah, you're a good friend, and you're also like very good at what you do, and
Oh,
I
thanks.
and I like that about you before I ever met you. So that makes it even better.
Well, thank
Um,
you.
so we've got a lot to talk about, and of course we'll always have a lot to say. So I'm just gonna start with some basics. So why were you drawn to Scooby Doo? What's your Scooby story?
So, when I was a kid, I loved animals. I mean, I still do. Like, animals are great. And Scooby was just like this lovable cartoon. And the fact that he could talk made him so much better, right? Like,
Yeah,
not it's not like he was just saying random things, full sentences, just words here and there, but she could understand what he was saying. And I mean, a talking dog is just perfect. But not only that, with the show, I could watch it, I could get lost in it because I'm focused on it, trying to figure out the clues, trying to solve out who the villain is. And, most people say that they can relate to the gang. So, you can sit and kind of relate to each of them in a way, right? Not just necessarily one of them, but each of them. And I didn't have a care in the world. I didn't think about the things that were going on around me. I was so focused on the show. It made me happy. And I always wished that Scooby was real. But yeah, it just kind of took me away from all of the stuff that was going on that I didn't want to deal with. And so it just carried through to adulthood. And now I'm just addicted to Scooby.
and that's really fun. I mean, all the cartoons out there and all the stuff in the world we could watch, and it's so cool that you can gravitate to certain things in your life, and it's just really, really special that you just took all that energy and that love and turned it around, as we'll talk about here in a minute. So, what point in your life, when was it when you decided you just wanted to go full in and immerse in Scooby Doo and find out everything about him and collect the stuff and just, deep dive? When was that for you?
I don't know that there was ever actually a time where I was like, I'm just going to go full force into this. I never really thought about it. It just kind of happened. I collected Scooby when I was a kid. So when the Warner Brothers stores were open, either I would go there or my parents would go there and they would bring stuff home for me. Um, And then as I got older, I learned how to do web design and decided that I was going to have this stupid web page that wasn't really about me, but I was going to include a Scooby page on it. So it had just the basic um, episode guide, and it didn't even have villains. It was really just a basic page. It did have an anti-Scrappy page. So
I've tried to keep. I've kept. If you notice, I kept the Scrappy hate out of this one. That's a whole other animal.
But then eventually I wanted to start learning more about the history behind it, behind the scenes. I wanted to really learn about the people that worked on it, because you see their name in the credits, you don't know who they are, and it was important to me to know who they were. So I started doing birthdays and deaths and history, and with that I just have this huge database of information, and my website has a ton of information. It just kind of happened, really.
So it wasn't really like a labor of love. It was just something you did, and it grew and it grew. You didn't just sit down and say, oh, I've got to take this on like a project. It kind of just grew out of you, right?
I mean, I guess at some point it became more of a project. When I first started my database, I wrote it down in a binder, and then realized that if I was really going to do anything good with it, I should put it in a database, an actual on the computer. So that taking it from the binder to putting it into a database was a very time-consuming process. But
yeah, that's a lot of work. I mean, it's just a lot of work, and it requires a certain kind of personality that's good, that you like research and organizing and doing all that stuff. And so what surprised you about this once you started going in and once you started looking around and figuring stuff out about Scooby? What about the world of all that? Was there anything that was surprising, in a good way, just something you'd never thought?
I guess I was a little surprised that the people that worked on it didn't get more attention. I mean, if you look up a lot of these people, you don't find information on them. There's no pictures of the people that worked on it in the beginning, if especially if they passed on early. There's a lot of people that the picture that I have for them is their name in the credits, which kind of makes me sad. I really do want to find pictures of people. I guess I didn't really think about the fact that they work behind the scenes, so they're not really known.
Well, and that's what one thing you're doing is, bringing that to light and talking about it, which is super, really good. Okay, so, people who like things, we can all get a little head in the clouds sometimes, and people might think we're strange. I mean, we're not. But what do you find that people misunderstand most about Scooby, about liking Scooby, the fandom of Scooby? What do you think most people don't get about Scooby?
I think that everyone kind of looks at Scooby. I shouldn't say everyone, but people look at Scooby like it's for kids. And if you like it, if you have a room full of Scooby stuff, then you're considered childish. And if you really look at a lot of it, it's also geared towards adults. There's so much that adults can benefit from. There's so many life lessons that Scooby-Doo teaches. And people used to literally tell me that I needed to grow up because I collected Scooby. And, what is the difference between me collecting Scooby and someone collecting Mickey Mouse? Or someone who likes wine and they choose to buy wine? Or someone who likes to go to dinner and that's where they spend their money. I guess I never understood why people would judge you based on liking Scooby, but then they would turn around and spend their money on something else. So at least with Scooby, I have it.
Right. Well, also too, as you say, when you bring it, it was made by adults. Everything that kids consume was made by full-grown people working full-time jobs doing this. And if they didn't put a bit of themselves in, it wouldn't really be as good as it was. So there is really a lot of timeless adult things to say. And yes, Kristen, yes, Scooby is for everyone. So,
and thank you for your comment, Kristen. I appreciate it.
So basically too, I mean, by doing this, putting adult energy and cataloging and looking at it as an object of art and culture, you're actually making a future for Scooby. And in doing things that even people who did the ink and paint didn't at the time, you're helping repackage things into a box that someone born 20 years from now can open and then start to like it, versus finding, an old DVD or VHS somewhere and popping it in and maybe enjoying the 20 minutes that they saw. So, I mean, you're definitely framing this out. It's like, it's worth looking at. It's worth paying attention to. So, and definitely you're awesome for that. So
thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. Now this could go really off the table or off the rails, but I'm more than happy for you to go any way you want. And I had a thought of it, what you might say, but what's your favorite funny story? What's your favorite story in this whole thing you've been doing? A story about an experience or something you've done that you share.
All right. I'm going to share two. I'm going to share the two that I talked to you about. So the first one, the very first time that we recorded a Scooby panel, it was really the first time that I had done anything like that through Zoom. And I just didn't know what I was doing. So we had our chat about Scooby. And then at the end, I was just like, okay, thanks for being here or something. And I just ended the call. Like, never thought that we could sit there and we could talk and have a discussion after. I just ended the call. It is actually in one of the blooper videos that I have posted. But in the other story, it's funny now. It probably wasn't funny then.
No, it's not for me either to hear it the third time, but go ahead.
But we went to Vermont to get the cabinet that's behind me and ended up doing something really stupid. So the people wanted me to back into their garage. So I backed in close to their garage and they're like, no, back in all the way. And I'm thinking, this is not right. Like, this is not a good idea. But I backed in halfway and they're like, no, you have to back in more because we don't want to lose heat. And I'm just like, I'm just here to pick up a cabinet. Like, I'm not here to stay. So I ended up backing in all the way into their garage. And that was stupid because they shut the door and I was locked in their garage. So this is a good story. Like, if you're going to meet somebody, don't let them lock you in their garage or anything else. Like, you got to be safe. Don't be stupid like me.
Well, also make sure you have somebody with you too. And maybe somebody that would earlier say, let's not do this.
Well, I was the one saying, let's not do it. And Mike was the one saying, no, it's fine. It's fine. And so I backed into the garage, like, not a great idea, but they shut the door. And then I got out of the car. I wouldn't turn my back to them. And I like kind of looked around to see what I could use as a weapon if I needed to. Because I had no idea how this was going to go at this point. Like, they shut their garage door. The first thing that I said to them was that we were meeting somebody for lunch, which we were. My friend lives in Massachusetts and was a half an hour from there. We were meeting him for lunch. And so I don't know if they would have done something. And the fact that I said that, they were like, oh, well, we can't because, it'll be a problem because they're meeting somebody. So we got the cabinet, put it in the car. They opened their garage and let us out. But yes, it's I guess it's kind of funny now. I call it the murder garage. But yeah, definitely don't put yourself in that situation.
No, it was definitely a rut row moment,
Yeah.
so to speak. And like we don't hear that enough. Well, thank you. That is really funny. Okay, so going something more on the lines of you, like what's your favorite pastime? Like when you get to do something relaxing, and what is that?
I would say for me, going to concerts. Even though sometimes the people aren't very relaxing, I love going to concerts. It's one of my favorite things to do. I love music. I just love being there. I've seen Dave Matthews Band 41 times live, and that's just one of the bands that I've seen. I've been going to concerts since I was like, I think my first concert was Weird Al and the Monkees, and Davy Jones touched my hand, which was so cool.
Oh, and you like him a lot, so
I do, yes.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
really cool. Okay, and then that's something I didn't know. So I mean, that's good.
And he has a connection to Scooby because
And he
he was
does, yeah.
in one of the episodes. So
Definitely. Let's see. So this one's an easy question, but I really, if you won the lottery, what would you do?
I would build the ultimate Scooby Museum, an actual building where
Yes.
I could display all of my Scoobies. I would invite people that want it, that maybe they can't display their stuff. They can have a section in the museum. It'll be, that part can be named after them, whatever. And it would just be a really great place to just come and relax and look at Scooby stuff. I would probably do like Scooby shaped topiaries outside, and yeah. And I would just buy all the Scooby stuff that I could. Of course, I would make sure that like my kids are good.
Oh, well, yeah. And if you won like the ones that are coming up on the $1 billion, you could not only do the museum, you could like build a theater or amphitheater and a meeting hall, so we could do the Scooby conventions, which, and we would throw so much money at Warner, they couldn't really say no.
I mean, we really also have to have like a little compound so that, we can each have our own house near the museum. So we don't have to be too far away from the Scoobs.
Actually, that would be great.
Yeah.
Wallowing in that thought in the light of everything bad going on in the world makes me rather happy. So, okay, let's see. Back to Scooby stuff. So, and I know this is kind of an unfair question, and I gave you these questions early, but this one reason, and her answers would change by the day, because a lot of times with our fandom, the thing we like the most changes, and that's cool. But what is your favorite Scooby episode or Scooby movie, and what would that say about your personality? If people said, "Well, this is what Scooby, meant to her most," what would we find out about you that way?
Well, I tend to watch the episodes over the movies. Like I've probably seen the movies 1 or 2 times each, but the episodes I've watched a million times. I would say that my favorite episode is What a Night for a Night, because it's the original. It's the first. You can't get any better than that. And what does that say about me? I don't know, that I'm boring because I'm just picking the first episode.
Well, you do like the night a lot, so
I do, yeah.
And maybe since it happens in a museum, you like museums and academic things, so that's a subconscious thing.
The only thing that's missing is like it would have been cool if there was a dragon because he was a knight, and that would have been cool. But yeah,
that would be okay. We have a comment from Folklore Podcast. The virtual Scooby Museum that Nikki runs is such a valuable resource in its own right, too.
Scooby Museum.
Yeah, you have a whole Scooby virtual museum. Yeah,
I do. Yeah, and it's great because anyone can add to it, and there's so much stuff that I never even knew existed. And building the museum, being able to add stuff to it, letting other people add stuff to it, you really see stuff from other countries, and you're just like, wow, like I need that for my collection. You know, I need all of it. But it's so cool. I can sit for hours and look at the museum and look at the stuff that's on there. And yeah, it's great. I love it. And I've gotten really good feedback that people really enjoy it. They like being able to see the stuff that's out there, even if they themselves don't collect. They go on and they just kind of look at what other people have added.
That's really cool. And maybe, hopefully, we'll have time at the end. You can give the addresses, and I guess maybe even in post when we put this up, we can add the URLs for the museum and Scoobyholics.com, and then the sites that people can find the panel shows. And let's see. So, what's the most difficult part you find in producing the panels, the shows you do, and then keeping up with the website too, and then all the other things that you post separate in bits of information about Scooby on Facebook and Instagram? It's like, what's the hardest part of that?
Having the time to do it all, because I do work full time, and editing takes a very long time. I do a video version and an audio version, and the video version I like to add visuals to, just because I don't want people to go and they're watching the panel, something gets mentioned, they don't know what it is. Now they have to pause it and go look it up or make a note of it or something. And, you know, if they're pausing it to go look it up, then they're going to get lost in the internet and may not come back to it. So I like to add visuals so people can just see what we're talking about and they know what it is. And then with the social media content and the website, it's just keeping up with it, doing daily posts. It's a lot of work. It's very time consuming. I try to do something different every year to display the history and the birthdays and the deaths. So this year I'm doing reels. And it's time consuming putting a reel together every day.
I don't know how you do it. I mean, and if it was me, I would probably be figuring out ways that I'd create a format that would kind of be evergreen, but keep changing it every year makes the most sense because it'll keep people engaged that aren't the super Scooby fans, you know. So
yeah, I don't want things to get boring. So, and Mark, someday I'm going to get the knitted post box topper. It will be mine. It's my goal.
So, okay, I could have asked you, and you probably answered this earlier in a way, but what gives you motivation in general just to do things, and where do you find your passion and your energy to, you know, what's your philosophy that brings you to do all this and keeps you going?
It's really just, it keeps my mind occupied. So I'm not thinking about things, you know, I tend to worry about things, and I've gone through a lot of stuff in my life that I try not to think about. And working on Scooby, doing content, it just keeps my mind occupied. So I'm not depressed all the time.
So basically the passion, doing it gives you the passion, doing it gives you the motivation. So it keeps kind of fueling itself. So yeah, you do it, it makes you feel happy enough to do it again. And that probably also explains why you can do so much, and there's a lot of sincerity and quality to what you do. I think you're just like the most academic Scooby person I've ever met. You could be like a professor at Scooby-Doo University. Yeah. So
you can teach drawing, and I'll teach about Scooby, and yeah.
That would be lovely. So when you get stuck, and if you're editing and you can't find that picture you wanted of Velma's Uncle Dave at 3 a.m. or whatever in life, who is your support group when you get stuck? Is there anybody you call and say, hey, you know, I need a hand or a thought? Or
it depends on what it is, but yeah, like Wendy. I feel like Wendy can come up with stuff all the time. Bradford. He has helped me so much. And yeah, I've asked you for stuff already. Yeah.
Well, it's definitely good to have the friends that you can count on, and sometimes bounce ideas off of, and sometimes if you're having a hard day, just get encouragement. So that's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
So you've become quite a resource, but what's the most helpful resource you've had along the way? Were there any materials like from Warner Brothers or history of cartoon books or anything that, have you just made your own way in all of this, or what resources did you like?
When I started compiling my lists of stuff, it was a lot of just kind of going online to look for information to see, it was different resources, different places. My website was one of the first ones to really do all of this stuff. And so when I made my episode guide for my very first website in the 90s, it was looking at going to the library and looking at television schedules and trying to find, all of that information that way. But I've also gotten a lot of information from books that the animators and artists have written, and just talking to them. They have been so great. After we've interviewed a lot of them, we've kept in touch, and they don't mind if I ask them questions, and they share a lot of information and share drawings, and it's been so great. I feel so blessed to be able to talk to them, the people that worked on Scooby-Doo.
That's cool, and I think they feel blessed that someone like you is actually, getting in touch with them too, and caring about what they have done and stuff still after all this time. Yeah,
I think that's one of the greatest things after we do an interview and they say that, they really appreciate our time. And it's like, no, like, we appreciate your time. This is amazing for us, but sometimes they feel the same way. And then we walk away from the interview and we just are on cloud nine, and it's just amazing.
That's so cool. That's so cool. So what have you learned from doing the websites and the panels that you think in general people might want to know? And I guess that's a vague question in a way.
It's very time consuming. That's what I've learned. I love doing it, but if you're looking for something that's quick and easy, it's not that.
Not for the faint of heart, basically.
Yeah, it's a lot of work. I mean, you can just post random stuff on social media, whatever. But like I try to put some thought and energy into things, and yeah, it's very time consuming.
Let's see. So what times of the day, if the world spun around on your axis, what time of the day are you the most creative and productive? What's your favorite time of the day to work? Not the times that you have to. Chose.
I guess it depends on the day, I guess. I'm definitely more productive like during the day. Usually like 10 a.m. my brain wakes up, and on weekends I probably get more done in the morning than I do later, but yeah, I try to just constantly be busy.
Fair. That's good. So if you had a tip for someone that had an interest in making content about anything they love, what would be your best tip for a consistent production of things? Like, what bit of advice?
You have to do what makes you happy. If you are just trying to make everyone else happy, and that's how you're doing your content, you're never going to be able to stick with it. It's going to feel like work. If you do what makes you happy, then you're you're going to enjoy what you're putting out. And other people will like it too, because that's just how it happens. But you should like what you're doing.
And then when you're liking it, it's easier to do it every week. You'll have something, you'll figure out something to talk about.
Yeah.
So what will you think the most successful episode of the panel was? And why do you think it did so well?
I am going to go by numbers. And the most watched panel was the interview that we did with voice actor Dino Andrade. He was married to Mary Kay Bergman, who played Daphne. She voiced Daphne. And sadly, she took her own life. He talked about his career. He talked about her career. He talked about her struggles with mental health. He talked about her death and how he coped with her death. And it was just really heartfelt. There was a point where I was trying not to cry, because he was going into detail about a lot of things that were very personal to him while he was going through all of that with her death. And I know people wanted to learn more about Mary Kay, but hopefully they learned more, not just about her as a person, but the fact that she struggled, and people struggle. And, when I post her death, some people will say, oh, she killed herself. Why are you posting this? Well, because she had a problem. She didn't just take her life because she was looking for attention. She felt like that was the only way out. That was the only way for her to cope. And it's sad. And, he gave some great resources too. And hopefully it'll save some lives as well.
That's really that was a good one. So how do you make your panels when you're putting them out there? How do you make them stand out from others in the category? And I think I have a perspective on that, but you go ahead and answer. No.
So a lot of the Scooby podcasts are doing reviews of episodes or movies, and I wanted to do things differently. I love talking about Scooby-Doo, and people have always been like, oh God, like, I don't want to talk about this. Why do you have to talk about this? This is so stupid. You're like, how old? And you're still talking about a cartoon dog. So my idea was, I can have chats about Scooby-Doo and do a podcast and, talk with other Scooby fans about this talking dog that I love so much. And we have so much fun on the panels. And Joel has deemed the after conversation Scooby Panel After Dark, which can get dark sometimes. Mm-hmm. But, we literally can sit and talk for 4 hours about Scooby. We'll do the panel. The panel is anywhere from a half an hour to 2 hours. And then the rest of the time we're just talking about Scooby or random stuff. And I don't like to do what everyone else is doing. And it's not because I feel like I need to be the center of attention or stand out. It's just because it's already being done, why do it again? So it was important to me to do something different with the podcast, and no one else was doing any type of discussion about Scooby-Doo. And I thought it would be a fun podcast, but it would also give me an outlet to talk about Scooby.
Yeah, I think that's, for me, that it's topical. You take ideas around the world of Scooby-Doo, you talk about it, concepts going from decades. So, we had one about the psychology of Scooby-Doo and how certain people, some faux psychologists and some maybe more serious trying to figure out not really the formula of a cartoon, but if they were real people and such, what they were about and things like that. And it's just really, it's definitely like, I mean, definitely Scooby conversations. And
it's amazing how in depth you can get about a cartoon.
yeah,
You know, I mean, we really like get very, sometimes our conversations get very deep.
Yeah, and I think that's different than there are those who just try to get interviews and talk to the actors. And I mean, it's kind of nice, but it's a little bit superficial, and it's just kind of waving a flag in the air. Whereas what you're doing, if people are curious enough and go there enough to see what you're doing, and they really see why you love it, and they'll probably love it more themselves by the time it's true. Or hopefully people will join our side and like Scrappy a little bit less. So that's a hill I'll die on, no matter, you tend to have to be Switzerland and corporate about it. But I know you share my, I know how you share my opinions. But so going to a technical, okay, we have a comment here. Folklore podcast. Yes, I wrote an entire book, which was way too in depth and still only scratched the surface.
Zoinks, the spooky folklore behind Scooby Doo.
Yeah. And that came out in the last few months, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I see.
Yeah.
And I'm very cool. So what's your favorite recording software? The stuff you use, is it just seat of your pants what came on your computer, or have you had, and which is fine. I mean, these days the way things play out, those things read well enough to others, and in fact the things that are a little bit quirky or not quite 4K are really better because they kind of have a reality to them. But anyway, what kind of stuff do you use?
I use Zoom, and it's not a professional software to use for a podcast, but it works for me. It gives me what I need to be able to edit easier. It does record everybody's audio on separate tracks, so I don't need to ask people to record their own audio because some people don't even know how to log into Zoom. So asking them to record their own audio is usually not going to work. So that's, yeah.
That's fair. But I mean, whenever I watch whatever we do and whatever you do, it's always, top notch and kind of hits right. And your audio is good. So going back to more the mechanics of what you do, what networking methods work for you when you're trying to dig a little deeper or get in touch with people? Or do you have any particular methods, ways, or do you?
So the social media is great. A lot of people are on social media, and you can message them. They don't always message you back, but sometimes they do. I've also made a lot of contacts through people. So, like Jerry Eisenberg, sadly, he passed away on February 11th. Amazing to talk to him. I mean, a total honor to talk to him. And there were a couple people that got me in touch with him. So he is not on social media, and I probably never would have had the chance to talk to him if it wasn't for those people. So yeah, I've made a lot of friends that luckily, I guess, are willing to help me get in contact with some people.
So basically the best kind of networking is the word of mouth and basically building on relationships to then make more relationships, which kind of is the best way to do it after all. So that's good. That makes sense. So this one has also probably been answered other places too, but how do you see yourself differently than other people that make content in the Scooby community?
I can't really speak for other people. But for me, again, it's just doing what makes me happy. if I want to learn more about a piece of merchandise, then I'll do a closer look video on it, because it gives me the opportunity to find out more information about it. And then I can pass that information on to whoever else is interested. I don't really like to be the center of attention. I don't really like to be on camera, which is a big reason why the panels are not, I decided to do a group of people as opposed to just me, so that I'm not the center of attention necessarily. Yeah, I just kind of do my own thing. Like, whatever I feel like doing in the moment, I just kind of do it.
I think it works. And again, that's just fresh and different to me than people that just have to make a new post about this or this new movie or this new controversy. And I mean, I appreciate what you did about the Velma show. It was just right and not too much. And you weren't just, and from what I was seeing, and even though we were talking about it too, you didn't always just take it to task, because, I mean, you were lining up reasons and stuff. You were talking about things that happened. And when Warner Brothers did that anniversary show that was felt more than sideways disrespectful, it was just interesting that we could talk about it. But you just weren't hopping on something to be the hottest thing in the moment. You were just like, this is what this is, and then I have something to say about it. I mean, and we have something to say about it, and people should hear it. So, again, it's like you're kind of like a network, Scooby News Network in that.
With that kind of stuff, I'll never be the first one to get that out there, because my goal is not to be negative. Granted, some of my opinions are negative, but I don't do content with the intent to be negative. But on the panels, the one thing that I love is that everyone can share their honest opinions.
Yes.
And you can still walk away and still be friends.
Mostly.
So.
Mostly. As many times as I've heard, you're dead to me, Trevor, but not from you. So what's the very favorite thing about all this? I mean, to stop and take a breath, it's like you've done a lot of good for a lot of people. You've made a lot of people happy. You've immersed in something that makes you happy. It's like, what do you enjoy most about this?
It gives me something to focus on. So for me, it helps me mentally. But I have met some amazing people. I have become friends with so many people. Like, you and I met through Scooby, right? I don't know that we ever would have met if it wasn't for Scooby.
Nope.
So yeah, it's definitely the people that I've met through doing this. The people that, sometimes people message me and they're like, oh, my son died, and he was a big Scooby fan, and being able to see your posts makes me think of him. I do get a lot of messages like that, and it's definitely that kind of stuff, and the people.
That's really cool. That's very cool. So, do you have any advice for someone getting into the realm of collecting or assembling information in general about a fandom or something, Scooby or otherwise? You've kind of already touched.
Yeah, so don't be afraid to be collecting. Don't let people sway you. Don't let them make you feel bad for something that you like, because it's okay for you to like what you want to like. And if people have a problem with it, they can have a problem with it from a distance. You don't have to associate with them. But I used to hide my collection, and it used to kind of make me feel bad in a way. And I didn't like that. Like, Scooby brings me joy. It makes me happy. Walking into this room where there are probably thousands of Scoobies in this room, it makes me happy. And I don't want it to ever be negative. The other stuff I would say, collect what you want. You know, you don't have to have everything, but if you want everything, then collect it. You know, just do collecting your way. Don't let somebody say, oh, you shouldn't get that, but you should get this. Don't go into debt over it.
Oh my. Well,
and don't compare your collection to somebody else's. If you have 5 Scoobies and someone else has 10,000 Scoobies, it doesn't make either one of you better than the other person. You know, you collect what you want, you collect what makes you happy. If those 5 things make you happy, then that's what matters. You're not a better Scooby fan because you have an insane collection.
that's sometimes a trap we all fall into. It's like the American way is consumption and showing status. So we've been duped into thinking that when you really like something, you have to prove it.
Yeah.
And yeah, you don't have to. But that lunchbox sure is nice. Anyway, so what are you proudest of in all this time of growing and pursuing Scooby-Doo and amassing the website and becoming this really good archival source for the whole thing?
I think the proudest thing for me is really that we've been able to talk to the people that worked on Scooby-Doo. The fact that they gave us their time, and some of these people we talked to for hours. You know, when we finished the interview, a lot of them didn't even want to end the call. They wanted to just keep talking to us. And it just meant so much to us that, you know, these people are people that we look up to. They're people that we respect, that, you know, they brought Scooby to life. And here they're giving us their time. They're talking to us. And they still want to continue to talk to us after the interview. You know, they tell us about their lives, their careers. And we don't just talk about Scooby with them. You know, we want to know everything about them. A lot of them worked on a lot of different projects, and you know, it's not like Scooby is the only thing that we want to know about. But yeah, that's for me, being able to talk to those people, it means a lot.
Well, definitely, you're proud to see you've given some people a voice that you know they may have never had.
Yeah,
that's really something to be proud of. So definitely. So okay, one these questions of mine. So what's the most important life lessons you've learned from doing all this? Like, what do you do better now? What comes easier? What makes more sense since you've been in Scooby Land?
I don't know that things really make any sense, but I think the biggest thing is that I didn't realize how much of an impact Scooby has on people. And when I do get those messages from people who, you know, my posts mean something to them, it's really heartwarming. It's special, you know, because I do this stuff. I post what I like, and I don't post things thinking, oh, people are gonna love this, right? I post it thinking this is fun. I like it, so someone else might like it. But when you really hear from the people that it had this huge impact on, it's just different, you know? And there's so much negativity out there in the world. It's nice to have Scooby to be something positive.
Definitely a beacon of hope. Okay, we've got a question. Stephen Fisher, a good friend of mine as well, from Superman world, but he asked, what is the holy grail of your Scooby collection. Even I dared not. And you can do the windy. You can do the windy thing. I'll give you up to 5. We have a friend that's like she can't just say one thing. She cannot be limited by.
So my absolute holy grail, I cannot say, because at some point when I have time, I'm going to be doing a video on it. Okay. But a couple of my grails, the Scooby-Doo push puppets. I have all 3 of them. I have Scooby-Doo, Scooby-Dum, and Scooby-D. Scooby-D doesn't have a sticker. So my brain says you need to find one with a sticker, but my wallet says it's okay. I finally got the Scooby-Doo maquette statue. Yeah. I really want to mention
them. You've got an animation cell, don't you?
I have a bunch of cells. Oh, so one of the coolest things in my collection is actually a drawing by Bob Singer. When we interviewed Bob Singer, probably a year before we interviewed him, he posted one of his drawings, and it was called Graveyard Cafe, and it was Scooby and Shaggy with a haunted house and all the villains around. And I had asked him if he could make a print of it because I would love to have one. He asked the person who he had done it for as a commission, and they said that it was too big to make a print of it. When he did the interview with us, he told me that he redrew the drawing and that he was going to make prints of it just because I asked for prints. That I was kind of in shock. Like, I don't even think I reacted very much on because I was just kind of in shock. So he did sign it and send it to me, and I have that, and that is one of my favorite things.
Very cool. Okay, we're not going to go any further with that. We could be here several hours.
I mean, I have a lot of stuff in my
no, you said we can be here. So. We can be here for several hours, folks. I'm doing you a favor. Okay. How would you like to be remembered for all of this? Like, after years and years, and all you will be is the videos and the web information, and all that stands as being what you've done. What how would that feel, or what would you want people to do with all that?
I don't really care if people remember me. What I want is for people to remember the people that worked on Scooby-Doo. And that's why I post about them. Because they need to be in the spotlight. People need to know who they are. And, so if when I die, people just go back and they watch the panels of the interviews, just learn all you can from these people and remember them.
Fair. So what things in general excite you the most? And it wouldn't have to be Scooby related, but if you're going about your day and something happens or you see it, what makes you go, ah?
I don't know that I really do that.
You don't have to add the gesture, but I'm doing that for emphasis.
Yeah. Conversations with my kids, because they're older. They're not around all the time, and getting something in the mail, I still get excited about that. Finding Scooby in the wild, just walking into my Scooby room is awesome. It's just little things like that. I don't know.
So basically for you, a thrift shop or antique store find is more exciting than when you scope out the latest thing at Target, right?
Oh yeah. Because you can find some really cool stuff at a thrift store, and it's usually something older that you're never going to find anywhere else, or someone selling it for like $5,000 on eBay.
Right. So Do you have a favorite quote in life? And I have a guess for what it might be, but you can have several.
My favorite life quote is "Not my
Mhm.
circus, not my
That's
monkeys."
what I thought it would be. And that's such a good thing to remember, folks.
It is taped to my monitor at work, and I have said it. I Work has gotten better, but I used to say it probably like 50 times every day because things were just so stressful. So when I get stressed out, I do say that over and over in my head.
So we're approaching the close, but do you have any just takeaway advice you could give off the top of your head for someone, a Scooby person, just in general? I mean,
Yeah, I mean, try to do something different that makes you stand out. And don't be offended when someone steals your ideas because it will happen. People always steal ideas. But yeah, just do what makes you happy and be different. You can post Scooby merchandise, but just do it in a different way than everybody else. Just to be a little different. I don't know. I like I said, I don't like to be the center of attention. I just like to do things that other people aren't doing to make it interesting and keep things fun. I don't want my posts to kind of just get lost in the shuffle of everyone doing the same thing.
very good. Oh, we have a question from Jen. What a surprise. Um, Hi, Nikki and Trevor. Oh, hello.
Hi,
Uh,
Jen.
Nikki, do people send you things for your Scooby collection? If so, what's been something you've enjoyed or been most surprised about?
Occasionally people send me stuff. I don't get a lot of stuff, but yeah, occasionally they do. Um Somebody just sent me some stuff, and the snapshot figures that they have of Scooby, it's like I think they're all Scooby and Shaggy, and one is the tar monster. Um I actually got one that I don't have. So that's cool, and I think now I have all of them. I got that in the mail yesterday. But yeah, I don't really get a whole lot of stuff in the mail from people.
Let's see. So, what would be your next project, or what do you have any hints for what's coming up for what you might do?
I have so many things that I want to do, and I don't have the time. Um, if I could quit my job and just do Scooby full time, I would. But yeah, I want to focus on making sure that the website is more up to date. I know I'm missing some villains, and people keep telling me that I need to add them. So I want to do that. I want to try to get the Scooby Museum to like 10,000 items. We're at 7,000 something right now. And maybe do some different video series. I don't know. I have a lot of ideas. There's a ton of things that I want to do. It's just a matter of what will actually make it.
Yeah. So, being thrown into doing interviews, my I'm not really good at this, I don't think, but started by talking to artists, which I thought, me being an artist, talking to artists, and there was a gentleman that did this show on one of the movie channels inside the actor studio, and he'd always ask people, what's if you were a tree, what would you be? So I was asking people, if you were an art supply, what you would be. In your case, if you were a Scooby-Doo collectible, what would you be, Nikki?
I had a really hard time with this because I don't know. I do know that I wouldn't want to be a plush because I don't really like being touched. And I feel like a lot of plush get destroyed by dogs. And I don't want that. But I don't know what I would be. I'd probably want to be some type of like breakable statue that can just be put on a shelf and just kind of be there in the background and, not get played with. And yeah.
Appreciated but not messed with.
Yeah.
Okay. That's really a good answer. Thank you for entertaining that. Okay. So where can our viewers and listeners find you?
So Scoobyholics.com has pretty much all of my links. ScoobyMuseum.com is where you can go and check out Scooby merchandise. You can add Scooby merchandise. You can keep track of your collection if you have one. And ScoobyPanel.com is where you can find the audio version of the podcast or anywhere that you listen to podcasts. The video version is available on my YouTube channel. And then I'm on all the social media sites. You can just look up Scooby Addict.
Okay. Very good. Okay. One more question from Jen. Does anyone help you catalog items or post online, or have you been doing this on your own the whole time?
So all of my online posts, social media posts, all of that, I do myself. Mike helped me to build the websites, both Scooby Museum and Scooby Addicts. The Scooby Museum, anyone can post on it. However, when you do add an item, it doesn't get added right away because one of the admins has to approve it just to make sure that there's nothing crazy being added. And some things have been a little crazy. So, but anyone can add to ScoobyMuseum.com and keep track of your collection.
Okay, and I have one. Is there a question or anything that you would have liked to say? Is there anything that you'd like to say that I have not asked?
Just thank you to everybody that likes my stuff and watches it. And, I appreciate when you like it. And if you ever want to be on a Scooby panel, let me know.
Very cool. I've been on several, and I can say it's a really, really fun experience.
We do have a great time.
Maybe more fun making the cake than eating the cake. Well, anyway, thank you very much for your time, Nikki, and thanks to Otherworldly Fundraising for giving us this opportunity to talk. It's like we'll be having an event in September where it'll be 2 or 3 days of a weekend. We'll be doing some virtual talk with artists and celebrities and authors and stuff all over pop culture and benefiting a charity that's very well deserving. So again, thanks, Nikki. And I'm going to hope that maybe we can host a mini Scooby panel here for one of our events and get Wendy and Joel and you and me just to do an hour-long sampler.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
That would be wonderful.
Yeah.
But anyway, thank you. You're just an amazing person, and I'm honored to know you. Yeah.
Thank you. You know that I very much appreciate your friendship. So
Likewise. All right. Well, that'll be it for this evening. Thanks everybody for watching.